Howdy everyone. This is going to be an interesting one because I am going to use my painting to decipher and interpret and explain things. Right, so I am an avid painter of or someone who loves to draw sacred geometries, natural elements, and things about galaxies and life, also flower of life. So with that, I'd like to introduce you more about the meaning and the interpretation of each. Well, everything is neutral. This is what I believe. Everything in life is neutral. It depends on how we look at it, how we interpret life. So one thing interesting is that to always remember that we are vibration, we are frequency of all sorts, ranging from high to low, including our emotions. Whenever you feel low, whenever you feel high, you're just tapping into that frequency. You're being on that radio channel. Now to switch, let's say you want to switch from low channel to higher channel, all you need to do is just to be in that frequency. And so you are that. Because wherever, whatever you think, whatever you feel, it's already there. Your desired state of being, your desired state of wherever you want to be, it's already there. It's just for you to match that vibration. So for me, today I am introducing using this circle as an interpretation of how life is. Well, according to Jungian's philosophy, Carl Jung, the psychologist and psychoanalyst, I am very bad at labels and stuff, but that is what I know about all this. So according to him, there's a differentiation between ego and the ego self and the, what is, the source, the bigger sense of self. You can say the small self and the bigger self, right? So I am using that as a little referral right now, but I'll come back to another interpretation. So what you see right now is without reflection. So this is a circle, embodiment of each colors representing the chakras, 7 main chakras, from the warm side and the yin side. So yin and yang side, they're all the embodiment of oneness, where we call 0 point field, where all that is source, God. When we come into that unity, integration of all centers, mind, heart, physical into one, so this is one being. And another thing, but I'm not doing that. It's just that it's just interesting that I like to decipher one picture in so many different meanings. So one of it is that. The other thing, just to slip it off of that first interpretation, the second interpretation is I want to put into context of the ego and your bigger self, bigger sense of self. Now, some people doesn't like the word of higher self, but you can call it the inner self or the all that is. Right. So let's say since we were young, we were growing up, we were taught that identity, who we are, is the physical identity. The achievements, what we learn, where we go, what we eat, whatever we do, the status, the physical status. So ego, the sense of self, it's a part of you, right? You are the ego. So this encompasses everything else, including the ego. Well, actually, all that is actually not in the circle, but it's everything, right? But let's just say when we were young or growing up, we thought that we are this sense of self. Our sense of self is just one ego, right? Now, as you realize that, okay, ego is an aspect of self. Okay, it's inevitable. It's a tool to help us. We love ego, but it's not all of us. So you start to see the separation of ego and your sense of self. Do you get me? You need to let me know by commenting, because I have no idea where your level of understanding is. But let's just say your ego, you started to separate and you started to see, oh, okay, so this is where I got triggered. This is where my wound is since young. This is where I am easily triggered, and I needed to pay more attention to it. So you started to separate that wounded self, that ego, the mind control, the repeated same patterns, and with your all that is, with your higher self, with your inner self, right? And slowly, with more practice, more practices like meditation, yoga, mindfulness, you start to aware, or just even cooking, doing all the stuff that you love, you start to see them as a separate thing. Whenever things comes to you, you got triggered, you got like the ego wants you to do the same thing, repeat the thing again and again. What you do is you start to see, okay, so this is a mental thing. This is a mental repeated thing, an entity that I've built up over time since young to protect me, to give me that protection. And it's supposed to help me and defend me and protect me in a way that I don't get hurt. So now you're aware, you start to see that, observe that, and you pause. So you start to pause and you start to see the separation between the past and the present. The present is all that is. Every possibility is always there, right? It's just that we're constantly tapped into the past because of the mind construct, the invisible cage. So as you realize more and you practice more and more, now this is where it starts to separate. And slowly you might find that some things that can still trigger you, but you're not reactive anymore because you have space in between. So when you have space in between, you realize that, okay, so that's the mind, the lower mind. The lower mind is trying to keep me in the same place. And I am. You know, you don't have anything at all. So this is one interpretation. Now, stripping that off, I have another interpretation that I can share with you. Is we start with this. This is the most common interpretation, where you always believe that you are a separation from everything, from life. So you, the yin and yang, your masculine and feminine, are constantly in conflict, right? Let's say you're a woman. The yin side of you, it's not pretty much cultured, it's suppressed and repressed. And you wanted to achieve more, you wanted to receive more respect and love, and you went out and whoa, I need to do this, I need to have this, right? So your yang is more fired up, and your yin is like Chh. So this is where we start to realize and observe and know the differences between the yin and the yang side. You can say the heart and the mind, the heart and the mind. You can put anything you want. This is the most interesting thing about pictures and symbols. Now then, you start to realize that, oh, okay, I have both aspects. Same for the guys, for the male. You have both feminine and masculine, right? So once you start to realize, okay, I have these traits that I can embody. And what I can do now is start to observe why, what's holding me? Like, why am I not embodying these qualities? Why do I put them aside? Why do I avoid them? Or why do I hate it? Right? You start to look at all these qualities and start to review back your past stories in the mind, the narratives in the mind. And once you start to do more practice and more integration, you start to invite them to come together. So for women, for those who are more yin, more passive, you start to cultivate more yang quality to do action, to go out and to show up as who you are, to speak up for yourself. And for men, as you start to, maybe you start to embrace more yin quality or even yang quality, right? Yin quality, you allow yourself to relax more. You allow yourself to just chill at times and spend time with your loved ones, right? Instead of just hustling, right? So you're trying to putting them together. Now coming back together, what you have is this, the integration of everything. This colors represents the 7 chakras, the yin and the yang side. So you have all of them integrating, all balance. And once you have all this in balance, you pretty much can do anything because you are that. You are already that. It's just that we're putting more awareness into the different aspects of us and how can we bring things into a balance instead of one over the other, right? And be more centered, because a lot of things, more things are going to happen in the coming years, and more things are going to stir up and going to trigger us. And what we can do is not to push them aside or repress or avoid or numb ourselves. What we can do is really to look and observe and does not allow them to affect us. So that is what you want, right? Instead of trying to find more ways to run away. And it's easier to say to be done than to be done. So for me, it's the most important thing is just to first be aware. Once you're aware, you have a choice because you're making space. So instead of going next things to the other, instead of just scrolling and looking, watching, consuming, numbing, invite breath into your daily life, invite pause. With awareness, once you're aware that there's space between these choices, the stimulus, you're not that reactive anymore. And now you can make a better decision. The next step and the next step. So yeah, thank you for being here with me, and I wish you a wonderful day. Ciao!